Alright, what's up guys? So I just wanted to walk you through how I use Blender to help me do a build like this. As you can see, it's pretty big, and so it can be really tedious when you're in survival. So something like this, I'll use Blender and I'll make a model, and then I can edit the model and get it looking the way that I want to, and then I can come in the game and build it. I kind of have a specific process for kind of the in-between steps, what I do after the model is finished and before I start building it in the game, just to make it easy to have a reference to look at while I'm building it in game. So yeah, let's go over that process here. Alright, so obviously you're going to want to make your mesh or download your mesh, and then once you have it, you're going to want to add a remesh modifier to it. It's going to be under generate. So you're going to want to set that to blocks. It's going to basically Minecraftify the object. So it doesn't look like that. You're going to want to turn up the octree depth. 7's usually a good number depending on how big you want it. And then you can play with the scale until it looks like how you want it to look in game. So it's basically done here, but there's going to be a couple things we do that make it easier to build in the game. So we're going to go in edit mode, select the bottom face, and we're going to move the cursor to that face, come out of edit mode, and then we're going to move the origin of this object to that cursor. This is going to make it so when we scale it, the bottom stays put and it scales on that bottom. This is going to make it easier to line up here. So what we're going to want to do, we're trying to line it up to the grid in the background. This just makes it easier for viewing when we're doing the actual building in game. So we're going to scale it and we're going to want to move it. And then we can come to the top and we can scale it more precisely from here because that bottom's going to stay still now that the origin is set on the bottom. Alright, you're going to want to add a cube like this, big enough to cover the whole model, but thin enough where it fits in one cube, one block. You're going to want to turn on snapping, and we're going to want to figure out how many blocks tall this is. So we're going to move it all the way up to the very top block, and then we're going to look over here and we're going to see that this 10,500 is going to be 105 blocks tall. So we're going to want to set it to frame 105 in the animation so that those two match each other. And then you're going to want to insert the keyframe. And then we're going to set the frame back down to frame 1. And then we're going to move this cube back to the first block in the model. Which in this case, we got it right on the bottom. So we're going to put in the 100 centimeters again. Then we insert our keyframe, then select the keyframe. And then we're going to hit handle type and set this to vector. Do the same thing to the other keyframe. And what this is going to do is it's going to straighten the animation curve so that it moves the same speed the whole time. And with this lined up to the block height, it's going to move one block up every frame of the animation. And you'll see what this does here in 1 second. So we're going to want to hit the tree, and we're going to want to add another modifier. We're going to add a Boolean modifier this time. And we're going to want to set the object to the cube we just animated. And then we're going to set it to intersect. And then to make this easier to see, we're going to want to come here and go to the viewport display and set it from textured to wire. So now you can see it's taking a slice out of the model. And then just by moving one frame in the animation forward, we can move one block up in this slice. So view it from above, and you can see each slice of the model, and this just makes it a lot easier to build it layer by layer once you're in the game. So to make this even easier to see, we're going to want to come up here to shading, and we're going to want to change this to object. So then we can come down here in the viewport display that we were before, and we can set this to some bright color. Or we can even set it to a color that's realistic for what it's going to be in the game. So we can set this to a brown for the tree. Let's do that. And then to make this easier to see, I'm going to add a plane, just a white plane to put underneath. And then we're going to add little reference cubes like this. And these just kind of make it easier to count the blocks and figure out where you need to place blocks when you're building each layer. So in game, I'll make these out of wool. They'll be like little wool towers, little pillars. And then we can change the colors to different colors so we can kind of know which one's which. And then you're going to want to move them all the way up so they're above the whole model so that you can always see them from the top, no matter how tall in the slice that we get. And that's about everything that I do here. You can even move these references around as you get further up. Just make sure you have snapping on so that they'll snap to the grid like that. And yeah, and then it's just about going in game and making it happen. So this whole process really only works good for things like this, like trees, maybe terrain stuff, or big statues it works really good for. For other builds like houses and stuff like that, I use this other program called Magica Voxel. It's just like it's like 3D pixel art. Both it and Blender are free, and honestly they help me a lot with these bigger builds like this. I hope this video was actually useful to somebody. I tried not to overcomplicate it, but I also tried not to leave out any important steps. Maybe push some buttons for a guy.